Welcome to Conecuh County, Alabama, and the tree farm of Salem, Dianne, and Patrick Saloom, Alabama's 2009 Tree Farm Family of the Year. This year we have been assisted by Victor Howell of the Alabama Forestry Commission, County Manager for Conecuh County. We hope you enjoy today's tour with this family on this wonderful property. We open our visit to Saloom Properties, LLC as Dr. Salem Saloom tells of the beginning of the tree farm.
Most likely after I finished a surgery residency and moved to Bruton in 1979, and sometime around 1980, 81 or so, we bought 40 acres around Castleberry, the first piece of property we ever bought. And we found this piece of property when we were starting to look for a little bit larger acreage. And the other properties that we have bought in the past have been sold in order to be able to concentrate on contiguous acreage here at this place.
Early activities on the Saloom Tree Farm in Conecuh County concerned the tree planting and rehabilitating of an old agricultural field.
Salem, it's hard to believe that all this was row crop field when you bought this and planted trees on it.
Yeah, Victor, remember back in 1983 we bought this place and it was row cropped in corn and soybeans and continuing to be eroded with gullies on both sides. Planting in loblollies at that time stabilized the soil. It helped us manage better for wildlife. We began dormant season burns several years thereafter, maybe about 10, 11, 12, 15 years after we started planting. But interesting, since this was a field, we were able to do our first thinning on this place, doing it every third row, a third of the plantation, 10 years after we planted it.
And it probably needed it then, because back then we were planting, what, 726, 800 trees to the acre?
Exactly.
And now we're down to about 544 or something.
Exactly. And we're now doing growing season burns on this place, and as you can see,
I can tell by some of what's coming up in here that you've done the partridge pea and stuff in there. And that bigger sweet gum's probably a result of some of the growing season fire where you killed the top of it. You still got a sprout coming up, but helps your wildlife browse too, doesn't it?
Exactly. We've got quail population that's come back into this place since we've started doing growing season burns, and of course the partridge pea, and even the aesthetics, being able to see it through this plantation has really been beneficial from putting fire in here during a growing season burn.
You can tell that it's really helped.
Yes, it has.
Hurricane Ivan was a traumatic experience for many in South Alabama. Salem answers the question of his first impression when arriving at the tree farm following the storm.
Devastation and shock, just to see it and to see, but the fortunate thing, the cabin was unscathed. There were trees around the cabin that were down, but there was no damage to the cabin. And it took a while just to even get in the drive here. We had to go around trees and cut trees down and across the road and clean up just to get in. There are areas on site, like walking down the Murder Creek, when it takes 15 or 20 minutes to walk down there. It took over an hour and a half or so just to get through tangles of timber that was down. And it was like that over a lot of the property. To come out here, you couldn't even walk in this area. This was a mixed hardwood pine area that we're standing in, and an area right up here was 12 acres of planted pine that were about 15 years old. That was an old pasture that we had converted to a plantation. And this area right here is an 80-acre tract that had hardwood and pine. And as I said, you couldn't even walk in this area. It was so decimated by Hurricane Ivan. And I knew that we had to do something. I thought that the best thing to do would be to be proactive about it, to be positive about it, to use this time of Ivan as a time of recreation rather than just sit down and cry about it.
Wow.
And so the day after Ivan and after we got out here and looked at this, we got commitment from a logger. And we started logging this place out. We had to clear cut on this 80 tract, 56 acres of timber out of this place. And our intentions were at that time is to reforestate it back in longleaf.
The goal of establishing vigorously growing, well-stocked pine plantations is exemplified in this scene.
Salem, this is a loblolly stand, a little different than some of the longleaf we've looked at. It was planted and a little thicker, and you got more trees, but it looks like everything's growing well. It's pruning itself up. How old did you say it was?
This is planted in '96, 13 growing seasons ago. 2 dormant season burns, and plan on doing growing season burns from now on. Has had a little Kogon grass in the edges, which we've controlled very nicely by spraying. Plan to, I suppose, thin this in about maybe 4 to 5 years, depending on what our consultant forester advises.
Okay. Looks good.
Quality wildlife management practices make this tree farm an excellent model for other forest owners to follow.
Salem, I'm just looking at some of the plots and stuff you have planted. This is just magnificent here. And I can tell that wildlife is important to you when you're in your overall picture and scheme of managing things, but you can have both as far as timber and wildlife. And what all have you done for the wildlife? You've had several different biologists in here to give you plans and recommendations, haven't you?
Yeah, we've had several visiting biologists, and we've done a lot of research on our own. Plus, if you have an interest in something, you're going to kind of look up and be interested in learning about what to do. And so that's what we've done here. And turkeys are a big part of our deal here. And this timber, as you can see, we've done a growing season burn on that. That will has taken out some of this hardwood and open it up so that you'll get forbs and grasses to grow in there for a food source. This is an old log landing that I took out this year. It's been just sitting here for several years. And so I took the dozier and cleaned it up and planted these chufas in it. And this is just a magnificent amount of chufas, and it's just gorgeous.
Accessibility to all the property, erosion control, and water quality were addressed at this streamside zone site.
Salem, we come down here and look. It looks like your ford is in good shape. I think we can make it across it real good, but didn't you have a time putting that road in when you started out?
Yeah, you know, once we added on this property, we were trying to figure a way to get to the rest of the property without having to go around on main paved roads. Yeah. And so we took a year and a half or so and built this area up to let it dry out during the wintertime. And then we brought in concrete, just concrete debris.
Just crown that road up where you'd have a way to go.
Crown the road up. And this ford, we needed a way to get across this creek. And so this was the least invasive thing and the thing that would take less maintenance and would decrease the amount of impact to the surrounding soil and to the riverbank and whatnot. And these are precast concrete walls that are seconds that it was given to us. And the only thing we had to do is get a lowboy and bring them in and put them in here and set them in. And it's worked real well.
This multi-purpose wildlife field provides a variety of opportunities for outdoorsmen.
Salem, this is one of the Chickasaw plum that you planted in here for more enhance your wildlife program and stuff with that.
Exactly.
How many did you plant this year?
We planted these, this is the second growing season of these, and we planted 575. And the reason we planted the Chickasaw plums, actually I think Joel Glover with Alabama Wildlife made a mention of that one time, and I just took it up and did it because to increase our quail population for protection of quail for cover. And so the quail can have a place to get out of the, get under, and these will form a large hedge. We've got 2 in a row right here. Sometimes people recommend doing them down the middle of the food plot and everything, but we decided doing these on the edge right here. And they're starting to get some size on them now.
Not many tree farm owners have experienced the opportunity of installing a bridge capable of holding up a Sherman tank.
Salem, I'm looking at this. This is a little different than the Ford we had up there, you know, where we drove across the water and went down in it and stuff. This is more substantial to get across this little drain here. You're still maintaining the BMPs and all, but I bet it's a story behind this bridge.
It's a very interesting story, Victor. This is one of the main creeks that runs into Booker Mill, to form Booker Mill. And that earlier stream that went across was Little Brewer, and this is Brewer Creek. And when we purchased the property on the other side, on this side, and then this side, we needed a way to be able to go across and get onto the other piece of property without going on the highway. So I was able to, actually I've seen these panels. This is called a Bailey Bridge. And each panel is 5 feet wide and 14 feet long, weighs 4,780 pounds. And they were made by the government and used during World War II to transport equipment and Sherman tanks across
So you could
larger
drive a tank
expanses.
across it, huh?
Drive a tank. Actually, I drove a 38,000-pound Traco across it several years ago. But they're put together by pins, and they're a foot long and about 2.5 inches wide, and they're held together, and they can expanse any length you want.
Salem discusses plans for managing a recently acquired advanced age pine plantation.
Salem, we're just looking. This is another loblolly site that's really got some fantastic products on it in here. It looks like a lot of poles and saw timber making into it. What's the story behind this stand?
The story is that we were very blessed to be able to acquire this stand about a year ago. It's a 35-year-old plantation, and when we bought it, it had been thinned out as every 5th row, I think, some time ago, but had never been burned the entire time. And so this winter, we took the initiative and did a dormant season burn. Had to pick the right weather, the right humidity, and especially the right moisture in the ground to be able to burn a plantation this big that had never been burned before. But we did it, and we were very satisfied with the results. Plans now is that we're going to mark this timber in terms of the pulp and canner to thin it out. We have a high density of poles in this plantation, and plans are to, after a thinning, allow the poles to reach another class, grow into another class, and then take the poles out maybe 4 or 5 years from now, and then continue to manage this stand until the final cutting.
Family use of the tree farm is displayed in this favorite pastime by Salem and Dianne. The reason many landowners own property is for the recreational aspect of owning the property. And for Dianne and Salem, one of the things is saddle horses. And here is Delta and Navajo, and they enjoy these very much. Dianne, how far do you normally, do you ride them on the place, or do you?
Sure do. We'll probably go about 12 miles on an average ride.
That's a long way. So I'm sure you really enjoy them.
We do.
And I'm sure they like the outing too when they're doing that.
They do that.
But we really, they nice looking horses here, and I'm sure everybody would like to have these. Dianne Saloom offers her admiration for Salem's intense concern for the great outdoor resource.
Salem is a wonderful example of stewardship, someone who knows that things don't belong to us but are just loaned to us by God to be cared for, and he truly does seek the advice of others.
Salem and Dianne expressed their love for the abundant wildlife found on the tree farm.
I've enjoyed seeing wood ducks we've got some wood duck boxes and some
Yes, yes.
bluebird boxes.
Are the boxes here being used then?
Yes. And we have an area above Booker Mill where we were at today, where both streams come to form Booker Mill. We own the upper part of Booker Mill as part of our property line. We will have in the wintertime, in January, sometimes 300 and 400 wood ducks fly out of there early morning. And so that's about a 10-minute shoot, and which is fascinating. And you know, I think the limit is 2 birds for a day now, and but of course, the way I shoot, you don't ever get 2 birds, but we have a good time, and it's beautiful just seeing them coming out of roost and going back in there in the late afternoon. If you're sitting up in a tree stand, a deer stand, up in a climber or whatnot, and you hear that jet plane coming over as that wood duck just flies right at treetop level, it's gorgeous.
Salem was asked, what does the future hold?
The future of Saloom Properties LLC this property was put in an LLC for a real special reason, and that was to allow it to go to the next generations in the future. Hopefully it will. Hopefully it will be maintained and in the future for our son. And if God deems it necessary to have grandchildren, hopefully that will happen.
Necessary. Oh, I hope so.
And that would be a blessing, but only in the right time. But to allow this place to get better and be better every year in terms of its management, in terms of the stewardship that is involved with this.
I sincerely hope you've enjoyed the tour of the tree farm of Salem, Dianne, and Patrick Saloom, Alabama's 2009 Tree Farm Family of the Year, who manage their property for wood, water, wildlife, and recreation, and many other benefits of good forest and resource stewardship. They definitely set an example for forest landowners nationwide to follow.